Good evening, everyone. We are the Gratitude Girls.
The Gratitude Girls are in the house. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Great. Thank you. Hi, Catherine.
I am wonderful. To our audience, my name is Catherine Asaro Myers, affectionately known as Rara's in the House, and I'm speaking to you tonight from Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada. Lori, look at your beautiful surroundings. Where are you tonight?
I am in Williamsport/Duck River, Tennessee.
Oh gosh, and your new beautiful home with this beautiful accent colors. One of my favorite colors is popping up behind you. And it's funny how they say that you start to become very much like the people that you hang out with. And since we've been hanging out together like what, 8 years, it's no joke that we start to have so many things in sync with one another, including what we like to do and the colors that we like and when we move. And we just said we were going to do things together, and we definitely are. And tonight's going to be no exception to the rule, to exciting nights. It's nice to see Puppy walking around, and I love that about hanging out. I love that just nature, and I wish I had my little kitties again, just walking across my keyboard, because that's what this show is about. It's about sharing our gratitude and hanging out together. Remember when we started on Hangouts?
Yes, crazy,
Really, like that
right?
was such a great metaphor for what we do together. We hang out on the Hangout. So now what do we say? We Zoom out? Let's talk a little bit, Lori, about to our new audience and for our guests and for the friends of ours that know us and just love to hear what about, the reason. What is the why of what we're doing here? It's such a beautiful story. And I love to chime in after you because you paint the picture and you just take me right back there. You give us a story and I'm walking through it. So can you take me back to the time in space when we first met?
Sure, yes. So, Gratitude Girls, Catherine and I are actually in a direct sales type company. And in that company, each year there's a theme. And then at our international convention each year, there is someone that is picked for that award for that theme for the year. And that person is picked by the thousands of distributors and customers all in the company. So it's not picked by the corporate team or whatever. It's, a collaborative pick. And so anyway, back in 2013, the theme was gratitude. And so that year, our CEO got up on stage and he announced Catherine as the winner, said a bunch of accolades, a bunch of great things about her. And then I was back in the back taking pictures and taking video and doing all my techie stuff that I normally do anyway. And then all of a sudden, our CEO said, for the very first time, there was a tie. And I'm pretty sure it's the only time that there ever was, too. And he started telling all the accolades and accreditations and all the stuff about the second person. And I kept thinking, who is that? Who could that be? Who could that be? Then he kept giving like different clues, right, before he would say who it was. And I kept thinking, the numbers are getting down. I've been in the company pretty much the longest out of everybody. And so I'm like, who could that be? Who could that be? Finally, he said my name. And so Catherine and I are actually on opposite teams in the company. It's direct sales, network marketing, and we are on different teams. So we didn't know each other. I didn't know Catherine at the time at all. And so we met literally on stage in front of thousands of people. And we just, kind of like one of those, they say love at first sight. Well, this was kind of like love at first sight as business partners, as friends, as confidants. And we knew that there's no coincidences, that there was something that is meant to be out of this. And literally within like 2 minutes, Gratitude Girls was born.
You know, Laura, you take me right back to that. I love how you tell the story. And I remember the moment, the minute that we met when my knees were shaking when Cody announced my name and I was thinking about my dream coming true. And then when Cody asked me to kind of wait, step aside and wait while he spoke about you, and he mentioned your name and he announced your name, I thought, oh my goodness, I wanted to meet at that time Lori Delk, right? As opposed to Lori Delk Radzecki. And I said, I wanted to meet you because you had received awards for giving and recognition for giving the most gifts in our company. And I thought, what would it be like to receive a gift from you? Because if you gave the most gifts, it must be something special that you do. And of course, minutes after I meet Lori, what does she do but give me a gift? So I understood how well that, made sense. And when I saw you, there was an instant connection. I remember walking down the stairs off the stage and sort of holding one another's hand to get off and walk away. And then we spent the rest of the time together. And we created like that, how natural for us to share not only what our gratitude was and is, but for others. And it was so natural for us to create and develop a platform where other people could come and discuss what's in their heart. So many times I'll be asked the question, what is your Gratitude Girls show about? And it's just so easy to answer. It's about gratitude. And we have been doing this, is it 8 years? We're in our 8th year now. 8 years. We win an award, which I look at every day, which is in my bridge room here. We win this award, we look at it, plus many others that you've won. And over the years and our decisions to travel together and to interview people all over the world, all of it has come true. Every single aspect of what we decided to do, plus forming another company in addition to Gratitude Girls for what we do. It's amazing. It is a dream come true. And every time we open our show and we tell our story, I think for our guests and our audience, I wish for that to happen to you, for you to have that instant, like that love at first sight, that instant connection where it's right. And no matter what happens, you rely on like pushing that out. So I know that the day of the show and the minute after the show is done, our life is really connected to our Gratitude Girls journey. And it feels like it's such an integral part of our entire family. It's not just me, because once you're married to a Gratitude Girls, you are a Gratitude Girl by whatever marriage. So we have gratitude husbands and gratitude families, and it's a pleasure and it's such an honor to be here. I want to thank you and let you know how much I appreciate you and your friendship and your collaboration in life, because that's what best friends do for one another. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about our guest tonight, because we have an exciting show. Maybe you can take a few minutes and introduce her, and then we can have some fun with her, because I think we're both in for some high level, high energy fun tonight.
Yes. So I'm so happy that one of our guests tonight, or our guest tonight, is Miss Carrie Jeffries. So she has been a super good friend of mine, and she's been one of my speakers at my Nashville networking business luncheons for many years. And she's actually the only one so far that has drove all the way out to my new house, besides family, of course. But she has some amazing businesses, and she just has this kick-ass personality that you will see come across as soon as you start hearing from her. So thank you so much for joining us, Carrie. Welcome to the show.
Sorry for pushing you out of your comfort zone there, girl, because that's one of my favorite things. I told my husband tonight I'm just going to have to I'm be a little metered with myself at times, watching the language.
Well, I don't know if you have to. We're not going to bloop you out, and we're going to keep the show. So it's cool. Just be yourself. And Lori, we'll just have to sort of suck it up, right? it's your show, Carrie. Like let's start with to give us an idea of a day in the life of Carrie Jeffries.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if people are going to know who these things are, but in the reference, I would say take Carrot Top, mix that up with a little Speedy Gonzales, and I don't know, and a big fire stick along to go with it. And that's kind of like a day in my life. There are some things that are the same, but I try to keep things mixed up and keep it fresh. I think that comes from the ADD of always needing like stimulation. In fact, one of the craziest things, people think I'm completely nuts, but when I hit New York City, it's a total relaxation for me. I can remember the first time popping up out of the train station in Penn Station, and I'm like, I could not stop smiling every time. It happens every time. I can't stop smiling. My blood pressure goes down. I totally relax because that stimulation is me. I love energy. And so big cities just give me that type of energy. So a day in the life, gosh, there's so many different things I do. Sometimes I will admit I bounce around a bit. So I could use a little help with that. I'm actually about to start a program that's going to help me streamline a little bit more as an ADHD person so that I can really figure out how to be even more productive than what I am, because some of the typical productivity stuff doesn't work. But the exciting thing for me about that is anything I learn, I turn right around and share with my audience, because I know regardless of whether they're ADD, we have a lot of entrepreneurial ADD. And as I told my husband, a lot of situational ADD these days, because everybody seems to be all bouncing around, especially this year has been like complete insanity.
You're
So
right.
I usually start out with creating some content, because I don't know what it is when I wake up and I start listening to things and I start feeding the brain, all of a sudden, like idea after idea after, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I have a zillion books. Like I have idea book after idea book and stuff everywhere. So I usually have to get that out. So that's kind of a day in my life. And then we'll just figure out things as we go along. Some days I'm speaking. Some days I teach some things. Some days I just kind of bury myself in here so I can attempt to get some work done.
Well, I think it sounds like an awful lot of fun. Well, Carrie, you mentioned New York City. So I was born in New York. So there's another thing that we have in common. But let's talk about, what city are you in right now?
Basically, I'm in the Nashville area. I'm in a little area just outside of it, one of the what you would call a suburb called Mount Juliet, but it's really Nashville proper is basically where I am. So
Now, I've never been to Nashville. So not that I haven't spoken to Lori about it, but tell us a little bit.
well, they call it Nash Vegas. That gives a little bit of a clue. It probably kind of always was. I've been here since 2013, I believe it was. 7 years, I think is what it was this year. I would say it's an interesting little melting pot of different people, different things. It probably wasn't my first choice, but to get out of the Northeast, which I needed to get out of there, that pace was just, I love the fast pace, but there were just other things. And no to the cold. I told my husband, no more states that touch Canada or states that touch Canada. So he said, so basically below the Mason-Dixon line. I'm like, that works for me. And I picked the Southeast if we could. So it's this cool little melting pot. And there's just, I've really enjoyed being here way more than I even thought. It wasn't like I didn't want to come here by far, because I thought it was an improvement, and it's very close to home, which is St. Louis. It's only about you have to stop, but about a 5.5 hour drive. And so that was really good because we were close to our parents. But I have just, and we've moved a lot. I should back up. We have moved, I have to count them up. I think it's 10 or 12 times in the past 19 years. So it's kind of like professional mover here. I could probably run a whole moving company and a relocation company. So, but it is one of the best places that I have lived. My other favorite was Charlotte, at least when we've been together. One of my all-time favorites when I was young was in Florida. I love Florida. I love the East Coast of Florida. But as far as matching my soul is probably New York City, that energy, that pace. There's just nothing like it. I mean, I've had a love affair with that city since I was a kid, long before I ever went. But there's a bit of that energy here in a different way, in more of that Southern way, but there's definitely some energy and stuff here. And I've met some of the people who I think are going to be just lifelong friends. It really has been transformational for my life.
Well, you're right about New York City having.
I gotta say, it's just like you said, when you just meet somebody and you connect, and voila, and here we are.
And Carrie, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. You're right about New York City having high energy. It definitely does. And if you like high energy, you're going to find it there. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and then
I was going to ask you that. Yep.
Yes, I was born there. And then I lived there for 28 years. And then I left and moved to sunny Montreal.
Wow.
Where, minus 40 degrees does live.
Yes, it does. All the time.
True love took me there. So when you say no cold, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful city to visit in August when it's not cold and it's really hot. So, there are some beautiful places that are cold. You just want to go for a short visit, but it's really nice to know where you're from and the places that you like and why you like them. But our audience might be thinking a little bit about, we're here to talk about gratitude, and I know Lori's going to ask you that question, so I'm not going to steal that question from her. But I just want to know a little bit, and not but to negate it, I would like to know a little bit about, aside from getting up and writing your ideas and loving the city that you're in, what are you passionate about?
How many hours you got? Years ago, there was a writer, speaker, trainer who just recently passed, who had just a life filled with so many things. Her name was Barbara Scher, who wrote a bunch of books. And she has a term called scanners and divers. Scanners are like butterflies that have lots of different types of interests, lots of passions. And that term, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none does not fit them. They are the jack of all trades, master of all, but at different levels. And so part of the challenge for a scanner is, how do you pick one thing? You can't pick. It's like ripping a part of your soul out. Or the divers, they pick one thing and they go really deep and they branch off into all I would say at times my father was a bit of both, but probably more of a diver, but I'm more of a scanner. So I have a lot of things. I know it may sound self-serving. I don't mean it to. I am in love with business. I love business, not the data and all the weird little, that will drive my brain crazy. That'll make me want to beat my head on a wall. But the business, and really I should back it up, because what's at the heart of it all is people. I've always been like that. Some people are like, oh, I'm a people person. And I'm like, oh, no. I am a people. And Lori's shaking her head already. She knows, I feed off of people. People are my energy, probably more so than even that city. It's people. I'm in love with people. I love conversation. I love connecting. I love connecting others to others. I just love the people aspect. I've been like that my whole life. And when I was younger, I had this gift that I don't even think I knew was a gift. And now I realize in my and only just in the last maybe 5 years ago did I discover this, there is a term called discernment. Who knew? I just knew I knew things about people. Like I could see where things were going. I would just I would just be able to figure out behavior and all. So it became like this consuming passion for me. And that drove me into a lot of personal development stuff. And just a lot of seeking and I'm always studying. And I got that from my father. My father, till the day he passed, was constantly feeding his mind with something, constantly learning something new, constantly, also giving and reaching out. And so those are some of my passions. It's just, I love it. And I think the marketing piece and that part of the strategy and the marketing piece just fits nicely into that. That's, because it's about the relationships. It's about long-term loyalty. It's about not just, one of my favorite sayings, Lori's probably heard me say it a million times, and we'll say it a million more, is that treat people like treasures, not transactions.
That's such a good segue. Lori, do you have any questions for Carrie?
Yes. So this is the Gratitude Girl show. So I, since I know you so well, then I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Cool.
So think of, just tell us one story. Like we have so many things that we're grateful and thankful for, but try to think of just one thing maybe to share with our listeners of what you are just grateful and thankful for that has happened in your life.
Yes, there are so many. You know, the first one that comes to my brain, probably because we just mentioned him, was my father. My father was, I would call him a weird eclectic soul, and so am I. And I'm really good with that. And it took me a long time, you know, when you're different and you stand out, and when you're a kid and you just kind of want to blend in and stuff. But somehow my dad was always feeding me. And my father was born into a family of 13 who wasn't even supposed to live. And nobody, I don't believe anybody else in his family even went to college. He actually had to go into the military and then had like the GI Bill and something, and like 4 other jobs to put himself through school. So he really valued education. I mean, that's really what pulled him up off the streets and out of just sheer abject poverty. My father should not have ever accomplished any of the things that he did. And he became a teacher. And I think that's where that love of both learning and sharing came from. And I know other people think you're supposed to be sad when they pass, which was, I don't even know, it's coming near 2 years, but I never was, because the lessons that he lived, a full, rich, amazing life that he shared. And he really, I don't even think he appreciated the example that he set. And I wish in some ways he was still here so I could tell him, like, oh my God, thank you for this and thank you for that. And there's just so many lessons. And my mom really is an amazing person as well. But I am so much like my father that I'm deeply grateful for that. I really do think God knows, I know God knows exactly where we're supposed to be, good, bad, and different, whatever. All the lessons come with it. And believe you me, because we were so much alike, it was not all fairy tales, especially as a teenager, as you can imagine, because he had a bit of a fiery personality like me. So, you know, but I still am very grateful for all of that. And I just, are there things you would change in your life? Yes. But I really don't regret even the tough challenges. I just don't, you know, and I watched my father take them all on. My father, by the way, one of my favorite things is I didn't even know he was this rock star in like the Taekwondo and martial arts world. And I'm like, who knew? And when he passed, all these people who came, and I was like, oh my God, my dad was like this rock star. Little did I know he was like some international dude. He was just dad to me. But it's amazing what he accomplished. And it just have to, you know, and even my mother, the same thing, pulled herself up from a very tough situation. So I was just telling my husband about that the other day, that is by far probably one of the most blessed things that ever happened to me. So.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. You know, in gratitude, we know it's difficult to choose one person or one story. And we do that so that we can highlight, right, something about you. But maybe there's someone that you would like to say something to. And if there is, please take an opportunity to do that on the show.
There's so many, but I have a gal who has been on the wild ride with me over the past couple of years and really helps me with social media, but really kind of keeping sometimes my brain on straight, because like I said, the ideas can ping everywhere, and she's very steady. She is like a perfect balance for me. Her name is Kim Vanderpool, and she's really a rock star at what she does. I don't even think she realizes how good that she is. One of the best things about her is her heart. I love to call it, and it's one of the things I love to teach about, is radical generosity. I think it always pays off. Even when you feel like for a period of time, like you're just giving and giving and giving. Eventually, God will reward you for that, and people will reward you with that, and God will place the right people in your path. And she is just a shining example of radical generosity. And I like to kick her butt a little bit and make her charge more. Because she's
Give her
incredibly
a run
valuable.
for her. Give her a run for her money, or give you a run for your money.
Well, no, she is a beautiful soul that really has been a blessing. And I remember when we first came together and she said, something just told me that I was supposed to, I forget how she put it, but basically that it was supposed to, like, she was supposed to take that on. Because I'm a pretty small client. So that's another point of gratitude. So I want to definitely give her a shout out, but also it's another one of those gratitude stories. You just can't stop them from coming.
Carrie, I want to ask you a question. We have a point in our show that we'll actually pass it on to you, but I want to ask you a question. If you could give a word of advice to our audience. So our audience might be people who've never met you before, and they might be loyal fans of yours. So you might be saying something that other people have heard, but sometimes we just need to hear it again. We need to be reminded. If there were a word of advice coming from which perspective, if you could just sort of put the context to it. Could you share that with us?
A word of advice about anything specific or about life in general?
Whatever you would like to share. It's up to you.
I don't know why it's at the top of my head. And I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking I need to do a video on this. I think that people spend so much time trying to be other people. People spend so much time trying to put on the perfect face, the perfect look, the perfect filter in more ways than one. And I attempted to do that on the online piece, less in person, but I even found myself holding back. And I think especially for women, I don't think they've ever really been given true permission. And really, you really just need to be the one that gives yourself permission. I say screw everybody else. Give yourself permission literally to be how you are. When I decided to step up my game even this year, and I was just like, that's it. We're going balls to the wall. I don't care. Full out, full steam ahead. Screw what anybody thinks. Now, I'm not saying you go out there and you just mow over people. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying literally let that person who you were designed to be just be, and screw the opinions of everybody else. Quite frankly, they don't really matter. And when I opened up that, it was weird. There was a weight that came off. There's a heaviness, I think, that a lot of, especially women, but even men secretly, they just talk about it less, that they carry in different ways. Sometimes it comes out as, really cocky or something, but a lot of times it's just okay to be yourself. It really is. No one else is like you. You were uniquely designed. And if you want to know what to do with your life, whatever that means in life, in business, in your career, in anything, the more you embrace that piece of your uniqueness, people are like, I don't know what my little USP is. Screw the USP. Just be how you were uniquely designed. And you were also uniquely designed to serve a particular audience, whether that's in a job, a business, anything. You were uniquely designed to do that. And throughout your life, you've had skills, experiences, education. You've got natural gifts and abilities that have been developed over the years. All of that comes together to uniquely position you for something. So I've watched, especially this year, so many people struggling with that thing. Listen, you only got today. Forget yesterday because it's irrelevant. You can learn a lesson from yesterday, but you can't change it. You've got today. Now we can plan and think about tomorrow, but you only get this moment. So what are you going to do with this moment? And this moment decides what's going to happen 12 months from now, 24 months from now, 48 months from now. It really can be a transitional piece. And here's the piece. Your life literally can change in an instant that fast because it's a
Mm.
decision. That's it. Decisions open the door. Decisions are the doorway to every dream that God ever placed in your heart. Decisions are the doorway to every dream.
Thank you for that piece of advice.
Okay, you got me revved up now. Woo,
I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that. We both are. So actually, we really like to do this in our show. We like to pass the show unrehearsed, so our audience knows. Unrehearsed, we totally have no idea what you're going to ask, but we would like to pass the show on to you and see if you have a question for Lori and I. Just let us know who the question is directed to, and then we will answer the same or different questions. So, Carrie, take it away.
Well, this was in my head earlier, and it really could be for either and or both of you. I would love to know, since you've been doing this show for so long, what are one of those profound moments that you remember from the show? Maybe you had an aha or an insight or a guess that just left you speechless or something, one of those profound moments that you can remember over the past 8 years in a show, whether it's a guess, whether it's something from each other, it doesn't matter.
Just let us know who you're directing the question to first, and then
How about both of you?
who would you like to
Lori,
go
take it away
first?
first, since I know you, let's let you take that away first.
All right. So let's see. The first thing I thought of when you started saying that was I just remember a time that, you know, at the very beginning when we were first on stage, we didn't know what we were going to do with it. We just knew Gratitude Girls and we'll figure out the rest later. And very quickly, we decided to start doing these shows once a month. And so, but then, and that's what our thought, that's what our purpose was. And for several years, that's literally all we did. And we said, you know, we do these shows, it's a give to give type thing. We have a special guest, we don't charge anything, you know, all those things. And we just kind of thought that it was going to be that, like forever. And then I remember at one point, and I don't remember exactly when, but it was a couple years ago that we felt like that's it, that there was more of a purpose for Gratitude Girls. And so that's when we launched Gratitude Girls Coaching and Private Training. So we have that company that we launched separately. And then we also have some other things still in the work. We have Gratitude Girls Speaking and Training, and where Catherine and I go around the world speaking and training at different events. And then we have a book and some other things still in the process.
Cool. It is amazing if you just take that next right step. And if you back up, if you have the faith and the trust enough, because that was the word God gave me this year. And it's amazing how much trust has come up over and over. And oh my gosh, have we had a year of where we've had to have trust. But it is amazing how when you just trust that, God then shows you the next step and then the next step. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing. And it's a heck of a lot less stressful when you're just focused on what is the next step I need to take that God's put in my path. So I love that. And Miss Catherine, how about a magic moment for you that you can remember in this journey?
Thank you. And Lori, thank you for sharing that. I remember those moments when we were making those decisions, as we still do. There was a moment in one of our shows that I remember when this happened, I thought, I will never know what's going to happen in a show. Lori, do you remember the couple that we interviewed and they sang?
Yes.
Okay. So when that couple, they had been divorced and they were remarried, like they were divorced from other people. They were widows and widowers. And they found each other and they found love and they sang together. And when this couple sang, I remember thinking, we never know what a guest is capable or willing to do, and therefore giving not only a platform, but the sacred space for someone to feel so comfortable that they could literally pour their heart, share their dream, sing a song, say something they've never said, unscripted, that in itself was a gift to be able to experience that with some people whom I've never met. And Lori, like tonight, we may not have a point of reference, even if we've had 2 minutes on social media with one another. When I saw that and heard that, I knew that this show would be the opportunity for others to do something they've never done, which is why we ask the question, is there someone or something that you'd like to share, or is there a piece of advice? Because when we say that, we don't know how that's going to affect you. So it's been a real eye-opener, because we knew we wanted to have a show, and we knew we wanted to hear gratitude stories. And in theory, that sounds great, like share your story. But yet, that's only the tip of the iceberg of what happens with the guests, because the guests really come up with the real deal about who they are. And that's what this show ends up being. And that was a complete surprise to me, that people can open up, be vulnerable, let their guard down, and really be themselves. Thanks for asking, Carrie. I appreciate that question.
Well, that's when the magic happens. It's like what I was saying earlier, when you just embrace fully who you were designed to be. Now, yes, we're going to grow and we're going to change, but we don't change who God created us on the inside to be and to become. And I think the more that, I think that's really a lot of what the journey of life is about anyway, and re-tapping into that heart that God gave us. So I think that's when the magic moments just happen. I think they're amazing. I love the spontaneity of these moments, of those moments. So
yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything that you're excited about for you, Catherine? Anything that you're excited about that you can see in the next season that God might be bringing for you?
Well, I think the people that are attracted to us to talk to an audience with this whole COVID thing, how people have been sort of reframing their life. I believe that we are even more appreciated now than before, because we are seasoned. We are not new at this. We are, and I'm saying this humbly, but we're experienced at this. So our audience can truly plan on getting entertained, and our presenters and our speakers and our guests can truly shine. And that's very important when the whole world turns to a digital perspective, but yet for us, it's been so natural for so long.
And I love that, because that goes right into that. How are you uniquely positioned? Like I said earlier, it's like God gave you these experiences, and sometimes you don't even know when he's moving the pieces around, and some things, they don't make sense, and some things take on a different light. It's amazing, because you guys are, what you're talking about is where you're, and not just with this show, but I'm sure with so many dimensions of things in your lives, because you both have seemingly a ton of stuff going on, even though Lori's changing some things. But that's the unique positioning. What are you uniquely gifted with in terms of experiences, good, bad, and all the in between? Because it is interesting, because no one could have ever, well, except for God, no one could have ever foreseen it. But you were uniquely positioned at the perfect time, with a platform and voices that can really make a power impact.
Thank you. And we're here to serve. And so we are able to continue to do that at a higher level because of our stability and our deep-rooted belief. So nothing really shook us. And
Right.
no matter what's going on in our life, moving, married, boxes, COVID, like nothing really shook us. We're here to serve, and we're doing that to the best of our ability, and we're raising our vibrations, and our guests really assists us just like you do to do that. there's always a question that a guest might have, like, can you tell me something about that guest? And I'm thinking, if I were in the audience right now, what might I want to know about Carrie? And, you have such a dynamic personality. I'm thinking, like, what really ticks you off?
Oh,
Share
Lori,
that with
I got
us.
I got a book full of stuff.
Okay, share it with us,
I have
Carrie.
a book full of things. Oh my gosh, where do I even go with this one? One of the great things in marketing that you can start with when you're looking to solve problems is twofold. What pisses you off and what breaks your heart. And sometimes they're dual. But this year, there's stuff that really ticks me off. I really, really dislike two things. I mean, there's a lot of things, but these two things, and they kind of go hand in hand. In the business world, what I really dismays me, and I've had this conversation with you, Lori, is watching people. It's back to the pretending to be somebody you're not. It's putting yourself out there like you can help people when you can't. Like, I love, for example, I will not mention names in order to protect the guilty, but there was a gal that I met at an event one time. I'm not even going to say which one or where, but nonetheless, I met her, and she's a young gal, but I'm like, oh, and asking what she did. And she's like, I'm a business coach. Oh my God, who isn't a coach? Hello. There's nothing wrong with coaches. It's just like, oh my God, coaches, coaching coaches, coaching coaches. But how many of them are really worth their salt? And this is where I'm going with this. So she was a business coach, and I asked her, come to find out, she had never run a business ever. Like, she had worked for a big company running something in systems and logistics. And I said to her, I was just, Lori knows, I'm just straight up like real with people, real, raw, and relevant, baby. That's what we're keeping it, real, raw, and relevant. And I said, you're probably going to have a problem with that because you don't have anything to back that up. But if I were you, what I would focus on is becoming an expert more in systems coaching, because there's always a way to reposition themselves. It's just sometimes people don't know how to position themselves. So that's part of it. But some people are just putting themselves out there. So that aggravates me. But more so, and Lori hears me real on this, I always love to say, screw the gurus. The gurus that are going to tell you everything and they're going to teach everything. And you just need this next tool, tip, tactic, technique, you name it, and it's going to save the world and solve all of world hunger simultaneously. And I'm like, L to the no, that is not going to happen. And they're just leading people down, and then another one and another one, and all these big complicated things. And I'm like, could we just, and maybe it's the ADD part in me. And I know some people think that is a disadvantage, and there are challenges with it. But one of the things that is really powerful about it is it makes me have to strip away all the crap and get down to the basics, the nitty gritty of what makes something work. And it's just simplicity. I think simplicity is one of the most underrated strategies of all time. It's the simplest things, the smallest things. So people end up spending so much time, including myself at times. So I like to say I've been through all the stuff to hell and back and learned a whole bunch, spent a ton of money, so they don't have to make, either the same mistakes or go through all the garbage. So I really try to peel it all away and just give them the truth and just give them the pieces that are going to work. That's the things that tick me. I mean, that really gets me going. And a whole bunch of other stuff, but that will really, Lori knows, that'll get me going. I'm leave it right there.
I'm glad you can share that with us, because we get to see another side of you, right? Lori, do you have any other questions for Carrie? I'm not watching the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I could ask questions forever, but the same thing. Carrie knows she and I can talk for hours and days upon end too. So,
and we have.
Great, yes, we have. So, but yes, I'll just say one last thing. So if you have one final thing of how anything, whatever comes off the top of your head, that you think that could help somebody in their life, business, whatever they're going through right now, just one tip, what would that be? Stop selling and start shepherding. Stop selling and start shepherding.
When I started thinking about this concept of shepherding and what does a shepherd do, and I went into this little cool thing called Word Hippo. If you don't know what it is, it's a synonym or an antonym finder, either way. But I love to, because when you're writing, I loved it. Well, I was curious what else this word, there were so many dimensions of that word: protector, leader, it had caring, it had teaching, it had mentoring, there were so many, it will boggle your mind. And the more I read, the more excited I got. And I was like, this is it. I really feel like God gave me that message, which wasn't for me. Well, it is for me, but it's really for so many and everyone that comes into the world, into my circle. I think we need to stop selling and just start shepherding. You start shepherding your people and you will develop incredible bonds. It will cause you to lead with your heart. It'll cause you to lead with caring about that person. It will cause you to put your dang phone down or whatever, unlike another networking experience I had where they were glued to this instead of having this. And it will make you start focusing on what's good for your audience, what's good for that person in front of you. Always, always, always leave that person, whoever it is, whether you know them or not, better off when they leave you than when you met them in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's just a smile, and you've heard me say this, Lori, smile at everyone you meet because it may be the only one they see that day. That's one of the things that breaks my heart when I think about how many people go through the world and maybe they don't have anybody that smiles or has a kind word for them. So we just need to start shepherding more. And
Great
the more
advice.
you shepherd, the more you'll be like Jesus. And the more that you do that, the more God will bring into and that's scary at some level, that power, but he'll never, ever leave your side because he'll never put in your path more than what you're able to accomplish with him.
Thank you, Carrie. That's more than a tip. That's great advice. It's fantastic advice. And we have so many ways that our audience could connect with you. We will have all of that listed. And if there are any questions that come your way or our way because of the show tonight, Siri thought I was talking to her and she was off. We will, I don't know. We will pass those questions on to you. If somebody wants to reach you, Lori, we have all of those things and those links and phone numbers, because I'm certain that the conversations will continue. I feel that the conversation needs to continue. I don't think this is the end or the end of the show. I just think this is going to be, there will be a continuation, a sequel to this. So I would love to be able to have us pick it up and continue our relationship, and to let you know that your smile has changed my life tonight, and our show is blessed by you being here and all of the wisdom that you have and you're willing to share. And even prior to the show, us having like this instant connection and communication about, our Yetis, like just we were able to have a conversation because we both like sexy voices, and we want to make sure, we want to make sure that our voices were like really good, because you said you're an auditory and a visual learner, and it's really important to have and meet the standards that you have and not lower them. And I appreciate all the effort that you went through, and I really love that you have a candle lit behind you during our show tonight. I don't know that I could remember a lit candle in the background of any of our guests in 8 years. I think it might be the first, Carrie. So I want to thank you for lighting this candle for us while we're in our 8th year for Gratitude Girls. And Lori, as our guests and our audience are watching tonight, they might be thinking, okay, I want to be Carrie, or I want to be on the show, and how do I do that? Can we share a little bit about how, after Carrie is on tonight, how someone else would be able to be a guest? I mean, Carrie may not let that seat up and she may say it's not available, but if she does agree to that, what would be the process?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/GratitudeGirls, you can, of course, like our page there. And then also right there on that page, there's a spot to message. Send us your gratitude story. Tell us a little bit about you and your information and what you would like to share with our viewers on our show. Make sure you leave us your contact information of how for us to get back in touch with you, so that way we can get with you and our calendar to see the next available show that we have for you. And then also, if you'd like to see some of our past shows, then you can see them at gratitudegirls.com. You can type in a word in the search box, or you could just go through a lot of the different shows and see the last 8 years of shows.
And you know, Lori, I was thinking about this as you were talking, because I think our next opening obviously is in 2021 sometime. 2 shows after tonight, we'll be doing a holiday show, because our shows are once a month, right? So think about that. After the next 2 guests, we're going to have holiday songs or something going on. That's crazy how the time completely flies, and we don't miss a show. There isn't a month that goes by, whether it's a birthday or Christmas or New Year's or New Year's Eve or whatever it is, that we don't come on and do a live show from wherever we are. So that's exciting, because we are rock solid. I love that about us. That really excites me, that we're there and our guests and our audience is there for us. So Laura, you mentioned something about going on our Facebook page and liking. It's something that really impresses me. We have likes and engaged followers, and that really means a lot to me, because I see sometimes there are numbers without engagement, and engagement means something. So that's the relationships that we're building. So gratitude stories and stories in general really do help us to communicate. And Carrie, if you would like to share any more of your story with us, connect with us and hop on, I'm sure we'll have a way that we can continue on the vibration that works for you. And let's talk about New York City next time. So
Love it.
yeah. So to our audience, and did you want to say something?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So to our audience tonight, and to you, Lori, I'm honored and I'm thrilled to be part of Gratitude Girls and to meet Carrie Jeffries tonight and all the wisdom that you shared. Lori, my heart, where is it here? My heart is right here for you. And I want to thank you so much for being a wonderful Gratitude Girls partner. You're awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for being with us, and see us next month. Same thing, 4th Tuesday night of every single month, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific. Good night, everyone.